podcast where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. I am here with somebody truly amazing that is focusing on spreading literacy through storytelling. She is an author of 11 books in all types of different genres and all types of different things going on. But at the core of everything, she is a beautiful spirited person that is leveraging her story, the story in her mind and her imagination to be able to create magic in the world. Keena, how you doing?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I am. Look, nobody ever asked me that on the podcast, so I appreciate it. I'm really doing really well. It's always amazing to hear from other authors,
hmm
storytellers, and you've done a lot of different things, and you wrote a lot of different types of stories and pieces of work. Can you talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to work in this field, and also start to tell your story as well?
Well, I started writing at the age of 8, short stories, poems, and then I was in this creative arts class where you had to do like a skit or a performance from a TV show or movie. So I
Wow.
was always in these creative classes. I was the kid that was in the plays at school and, and all of that stuff, and I absolutely loved it. Being able to participate in programs like that, I was able to go to different museums, art shows, see actual stage plays. It was just so inspiring. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to do that. And I started a book club in 2011 because I was an avid reader and I just felt like it was something missing there. You know, I love to read books, but who am I going to discuss these books with? And so from there, I branched off to, actually becoming an author. I had wrote a lot of different little chapters here and there to just various topics. And finally, I just made myself commit to finishing a novel. And the rest is history.
Of course. So
Mm-hmm.
to date now, how many pieces of work have you created? You've created plays, you've created a lot of different things. Talk to me about all that you've created. And then with all that you created, what are you most proud about?
Well, my first novel is called Appearances. It ended up being a book series of 3 books. That's how I really got started. And during that time, my church actually did plays every year for Christmas. And
Wow.
we actually they were doing like the same play. And I'm like, I think I can write a play. That's kind of how that came about. And so in that process, I started being a playwright. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. It's like writing a novel, but of course you shorten everything. But you have to be hands on with the scenes and the directions and the music. Um, then I have 2 sons, and they were with me everywhere at book events, and they actually got interested in books and reading more books. And we have all of these children's books on their shelves, and they said, I want to write a book. Let's do it. And
That's
so with that sparked the Dregs book, Growing Up Dregs book series about a 7-year-old little boy and the different things that he experiences growing up. And at
wow.
the end of every book, there's like a message there. So it's really happy to start with that. And so, it's just been plays, children's book, novels. And it's, for me, when they say that God just aligns you up, he just aligns you and you just go. That's basically what happened. I just was aligned in this direction. And ever since I followed what he was telling me to do, everything just fell into place.
Hmm. What would
Mm-hmm.
be your message? I work with authors all of the time, from teachers to professionals, but now we really isolate with working with high level entrepreneurs and executives. What
Mm-hmm.
would be your message to somebody who wants to start writing their story but doesn't really know where to start?
Definitely, you have to sit down with yourself and understand the level of commitment because everybody says that they want to write a book, but are you truly committed?
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things. I think once you make your mind up and you really focus on what you want to do, the next thing is definitely get an outline of some sort of just kind of the general idea
Mm.
and reach out, ask questions. That's what I did. I Being the president of a book club, I was able to connect with a lot of authors, self-published authors. So I reached out. I wasn't afraid to ask questions, how did you do this? And book events, it's so much that comes with it. So I think if you're really, really determined, make up your mind to do it. Think about what you want to do. Do you want to just write a book, or do you really want to take your book to the next level and go to book events? Do you want to just sell them to your family? You know, or do you really want to be for real with it? And once you make your mind up, like I said, go for it.
Of course. What's next for you? You have 11 books, you have this book club, you run book events, you do a lot of different things in this space. What does next look like for you?
So next for me is I'm finishing up my fifth novel. It's called Committed.
Okay.
Committed will take my readers back to the appearances days, where the books are a little bit more spicy, a little bit more going on. It's going to be a standalone novel. Once I finish that, which I'm in the editing phase now, right before I send it to my editor. After that, I'm going to finally finish my travel memoir, talking about my trip to Ghana in 2019.
Wow.
And that experience was so much. It was so much emotionally that it took me a long time to just really settle my mind down enough to even try to write. I kept a journal while I was there, but it was so hard because you go through so many emotions.
Oh yeah.
And so I said that I think I'm in a better mental space now. Then COVID hit. We went in 2019, then COVID hit. And
Yeah.
so I was like, it's time. It's time to tell my story, my journey of just being, a little country girl, not knowing anything about her real history, and being able to travel to Africa, West Africa. It was just amazing.
Oh no, it's an amazing experience. We had the chance to go in 2013
Oh, wow.
in Accra. We worked at the University of Ghana Business School,
Oh,
and
wow.
it's an absolutely amazing experience, life changing, hands
Life,
down.
definitely.
We went over to Cape Coast Castle and
Hmm.
saw Nelson Mandela and all of these different things.
Oh,
It was amazing, and I got to get back out there. So
yes.
maybe that was my motivation to get back out there and book a trip for sure.
Yes.
With everything that you've done thus far, not just for yourself but for other authors,
Hmm.
why do you do the work that you do?
Um, I feel like to whom much is given, much is expected. Um, if you are put in a position where you can help somebody and give back, you absolutely have to do that. Um, God doesn't want you to be selfish with his gifts. And so, with that, anytime someone has questions, um, I attended so many book events in different areas, different states, and I'm like, there's nothing in my city. And I was like, well, I can throw a book event and I can highlight the local authors on a bigger level, because I was connected enough in the industry to where I might not know big names, but I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody.
Right.
And, as long as you are, willing to reach out to people and just be polite and professional. I think being professional has a lot to do with the way that I have been able to, maneuver my way through the literary industry, because you just have to know how to treat people, know how to talk to people. And I think with all of that, I just feel like I have to give back as much, whatever I know and whatever I can do. I want to be willing to do that.
What's one piece of advice that you would give to somebody that is trying to not just tell their story, but be a leader in the literary industry?
Um, I would tell them to make sure that they are connected to the right people, as far as, if you know some editors, have a list of different connections that you have. That is going to help tremendously, because every time someone speaks with you, they're going to ask you about certain things. They're going to ask you, well, how is, I'm trying to find an editor, or I'm running into problems with, with my book cover. So any connections that you make sure that you keep those connections solid, so that you can give back to them, um, and just bring others along the way, and be able to send information whenever you can, help people whenever you can. But definitely, you got to keep a list of your connections.
Outside of your title of author and mom and all of these different hats that you wear, who are you at the core of just you in general? Like, who are you, and what questions would you want people to start asking you?
Who am I? I'm really, really a introvert, believe it or not. I'm a very laid back, chill person.
Yeah,
But I can get up in a room full of people and I can talk about my books. Or I used to do spoken word, something that I really want to get back into. I was doing it in college, started doing it again a couple of years ago, but definitely just a free spirit. I love to travel. I love, to shop and love to just, just give back and just try my best to just be a good person,
of
at the
course.
end of the day. And just try my best to, stand up for whenever I can for us as a people. And to
Yeah.
definitely with Ghana, I've been very, trying to encourage people to definitely go back
Hmm.
and learn about the journey.
Of course, of
Mhm.
course. In your life, both professionally and personally, I'm sure that you've learned so many different lessons. What would you say the most powerful lesson life has taught you thus far?
um, Definitely to believe in yourself.
Wow.
That has to mentally, you really can't do anything unless you believe it yourself. I can't get anybody to believe in nothing that I'm doing if I don't believe in it. Um, your mind is a very, very powerful weapon,
Of
and
course.
it can definitely change the trajectory of your life depending on how mentally well balanced you are and how much you believe in what you want to do. Because I really truly believe it's really not about the money.
Mm.
It's really about doing something that you enjoy doing, something that you love to do. And if you can find that balance and you can, try to figure everything out, everything will fall into places, but you have to go for it. That's the biggest thing. If I never wrote my first book, um, I would not be here, you know. And the only regrets that I would say I would have is not knowing that this is who I was years ago. Like I could have been writing books when I was in college, so
That's
so
good.
yeah.
That's good. I think that it's especially somebody like you that has so many books and so many different genres. You can understand the importance of characterization and the
Mhm.
plot, climax, and all of these different things. But a question that I'd love to ask you is, who are in your story the main characters and supporting characters that have helped you become this person?
Wow. My latest novel, All Things Work Out Well, was one of those novels that I actually the idea was these two characters started having a conversation in my head while I was laying down. It's so funny. And, as an author, you always try to keep something to write on. I
Hmm.
wrote down their like 3 lines of their conversation on a Walmart receipt. And these and I wanted to write a book that showed two African American women who were working in a dry cleaners, but had big dreams. But they encouraged each other and they loved each other and they were there for each other. And I was so determined to absorb as much as I could to write this book that I went to a laundromat for like hours. And I was there and I, interviewed the manager that worked there. Like I observed the customers, everything about it, because I really, really wanted to portray
That's
everything about dry cleaning, and
good.
the customers and the funny stories. Some of those things I got from the manager. I was like, well, do people leave crazy stuff in their pants pockets or in the dryers? He's like, you would not believe. And all of that stuff, like that book really for me it solidified the fact that I can write a standalone novel and
Mm,
I can put those characters um, that relate to everybody that read them. So I was really, really
powerful.
happy
It's
about it.
for me, all of my books have been nonfiction.
Hmm.
So I haven't cracked into children's books as well as fiction books yet, but I do have a fiction book it's in my head playing over and over.
Hmm.
Interestingly, it's a love story as well, which is completely different than what I thought I'd be writing about.
Hmm.
But, for anybody right now that wants to write a novel, wants to write that fiction book rather than the nonfiction book, what would be your advice to them? Where could they start? How do they put the whole story together?
Well, before I answer that, to piggyback off of what you said about being a nonfiction writer, to me, that's the hardest thing to write.
Really?
Because, yes, because when I started, even dabbling into writing my travel memoir, it was hard because it was personal, it was real. You can make up stuff in your head all day, but
Got
being
it.
transparent,
Yeah.
that's very hard. You're very vulnerable, and you're exposing a side of yourself that you usually won't do. And
Wow.
so, to answer your question, fiction can be fiction, but make sure that you research and the real parts of it are real,
Mm.
because a lot of times we want to try to make up things and it's not going to relate to the reader.
Right.
If you talk about Chicago, it has to be Chicago. It can't be a made up Chicago.
Exactly.
If you're talking about your character going through, mental illness or things like that, you have to research things like that.
That's good.
Um, it's easy to write, but fiction, I would say, but make sure that you do your research, do due diligence, because readers will call you out,
Of
and
course.
they will, even me, like they've called me out and said, no, that doesn't really make sense, but so yeah, do your due diligence, research what you're writing about. Don't write about what you know, write what you know.
No,
Um,
that's
and if you don't know something, ask, research, look at movies,
mhm.
go to Google. I mean, if you could see my Google search bar, like I would probably be in jail, because some of the stuff that I have Googled is just like, how do you kill somebody?
Oh my
And
God.
it's like, I'm an author, y'all. So, but
No,
yeah,
that's
definitely.
I love that, because the research component is super, super important. And I
Mhm.
love when you were, communicating the story of you going to this laundromat and talking to different people and kind of being in that environment. I
Mhm.
think that's not a perspective that I've heard before, but I do see it as a perspective that can help so many different authors
Yes.
going to that specific place.
Mhm.
When, a question that I have for you is, if you had, let's say, 30 seconds or 60 seconds to share a message that would impact everyone in the world, what would you say? What would be your message?
Life is short. Follow your dreams. Follow your dreams. Take that trip, write that book, write that poem, wear that dress, wear that suit, wear those shoes, wear that jewelry. Life is too short. Um, Here today, gone tomorrow. Follow your dreams and live your life. Live your true self. Don't worry about what people have to say about you. Um, you have to be happy in this life. So do whatever it is that makes you happy, and do that to the fullest extent of your ability, for sure.
When you think about what writing represents and what it means to you, what would you say? How would you define that?
Writing represents the gift that I discovered I had.
Mm,
Um, and it's just like any other gift that you have, someone who can sing well, someone who can, make a tapestry with a pencil.
exactly.
It's something that I just, I thank God for, because I never formally took a writing class. I literally wrote a book, just I just wrote it. And so I have to recognize that that's a true gift that everybody doesn't have. So it's just something that I feel like everybody has their gift, but it's up to you to find it. And so, I'm not sure if that's answering your question, but
Definitely.
definitely, just recognize what your strong suit is, and be able to want to do that whether you get paid or not. That's the key.
Definitely, definitely. I really appreciate your time as well, and we're definitely going to be connecting and collaborating on some projects in the future, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
Where can people find you? How can we support you and your work as well as your event coming up as well? Talk to us.
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, K Reshay. I have a Facebook page, Author K Reshay. You can catch my book club as well as Me Time Book Club. We're on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram as well. Behind the Ink 2023 is our third annual book event that's taking place in Birmingham, Alabama, the Magic City. We are featuring New York Times bestselling author Kimberla Lawson Roby. We also have several authors and vendors signed up. We have our event host. We have a musician there. 360 Photo Booth is a free event to the public. Registration is open now, so we'll have registration open until April the 1st.
Mm,
And so if you can come out, please come out and support, share the flyer, um, and just, if you like to follow the journey, if you need help, if you have questions, whatever I have, whatever I know, I'll tell you. And if I don't know, I can definitely point you in the right direction.
of course. Kenny, you have been amazing. Your
Thank you.
story, your poise, and all of what you're doing for this industry. I just want to thank you, give you your flowers as well. And I look forward to
Thank
making
you.
my way to Birmingham in the future and us collaborating together. Um,
Definitely.
Follow her. All of her information will be in the description below. So I need you to click the links, go to her event if you're in the Birmingham area, or if you're free that weekend, fly in town to be able to support her in all of these different ways. Or even don't be shy to ask her questions about your journey of being
Right.
a writer, whether it's a fiction book or a nonfiction book or that children's book or even a play. Um,
Mhm.
Go to her so that you can be able to get that support. Again, guys, we're on another episode of the Writers Game podcast where we help you magnify your voice and monetize your message. And we'll see you guys next episode.